Well guys, it's been a couple months since I've gotten around to doing much of anything, you know, with the broken arm and stuff. But everything is healed up now and it's time to get back to work. So, today I need to winterize the Jeep. So let's see what it takes to get that done.
Me and the boys were sitting around drinking, we was talking about things that we was thinking, when all of a sudden what comes out of Bill's mouth? Said I'm getting old and fat and slow, and I don't recover like I did before from nights of rabble, rousing and too much fun. Well, I looked around and we all agreed, and I had a drink and I ordered 3, and I staggered back to do it all again. Then we made an oath on a rum and coke with the best intention, I'm sure you know, that we would stop this living in excess. We're gonna have one more party, one more special occasion. Do it Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, holidays and weekends. We can have one more party. There's more hell we should be raising. One more party now, one more party tonight.
Okay, so looking at access, I just pulled the air cleaner cover up. Then there's a little connection spot back here that it kind of plugs into, you know, snaps into, and you can pull up there. And then there's a hose release here and a bleeder there. So the things we need to be aware of are those things. And then we come around to the front here, and on the top side there's a hose clamp over there. And from the bottom side, looks like there's a hose clamp down there. I don't know if you guys can see. And then there's a hose clamp over here. So that'll get me to where I can replace the hoses. And then there's the belt. I want to replace the belt too. So it looks like I can release the tensioner here and pull the belt out fairly simple. But what I need to do first probably is take that plastic cover off the bottom and get it out of the way. So let's get this thing up in the air. Okay, now that we've removed that bottom cover with these 4 bolts on the, or those 3 bolts on the front with 1 clip, and then there was 1 bolt there that was over here on the side. There should be 1 on the other side, but that one's apparently missing. So, yeah, we'll deal with that later. What do we need to do now that we're underneath the Jeep? Let's take a quick look here. There's the drain plug. So I'll have to loosen that up and let some antifreeze out. And then we'll need to come over here and loosen up that hose clamp. And then we got a hose clamp up there to take all the lower stuff off. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to leave the cap on for a little bit so that hopefully it'll drain out the antifreeze from the overflow tank. So let's just get some stuff draining and see how that goes. Yeah, I loosened that up and the antifreeze is draining. Not as fast as a 56-year-old man's pee in the, you know, ask me how I know. Alright. Looks like it appears to be working. By not loosening the cap, I have been doing a pretty good job of draining the antifreeze out of the overflow tank. So we'll let that try to drain all the way down, and then we will try to get it to flow a lot faster. Okay guys, now it's down to a drip, so I think I can close this valve and start working on the hoses. I think that should be tight enough. Can't get it loose with my fingers. All right. Now we got to move over to this side and take this lower radiator hose off. Well, got the lower radiator hose off, but ended up having a little bit of a spillage. So let's get this cleaned up, and then we'll go take the upper part of the lower radiator hose off and replace those things, and we'll have the bottom end pretty much done. So when Dan was over here, he was telling me this is the first time to change everything out, looking at all the crap that's coming out of the end of that hose. So we're going to clean up that lower radiator hose bracket and put on a new hose. Thank God for tiny tools. I was able to get that clean. So it's a lot better than it was. It was all crusty with leaky stuff coming out of it. Alright guys, so if you're wondering how does that belt run, it runs around that, up over that idler pulley, around the alternator, around this idler pulley, around the crank, and then around that idler pulley. So there's only two of them that are on the back side of the belt, and that's that big one and this one here that just holds the tension. The rest of them all have grooves, and they're all in there that direction. Okay, now that we got that in there, let's go finish putting this hose on, and then we'll be done from the, well, and then we got to put the bottom cover on, and then we'll be done with the bottom half. Okay guys, I got the new hose on the upper side, and I gotta tell you, I am really pissed off at whoever put this upper radiator hose on, because they put the clamp where you got to get your wrench on back here where you can't even touch it. Well, if you're going to put the hose on, put the clamps where you can actually get to them. You know, here, there, right on top, right where it's easy and convenient. Don't be stuffing them way back into a hole where nobody can get a pair of pliers on anything. That took me over an hour to fish that clamp out of there. Not cool. Alright. But, anyway, now the new hose is on. Now I just got to fill it back up with antifreeze and purge it. Which I think I got to take this thing out. Whatever that takes. To let the air out when it heats up. Oh, got to take my breaker bar out too. I don't know, what does that take? Like an Allen wrench maybe? I don't know. I'm gonna have to get my glasses on. Well, let's see what it takes now. I gotta go fill up some or mix some antifreeze, and then we'll start topping it back off. Alright guys, all done, all topped off. Radiator's got clean antifreeze, new hoses, new belt spinning around just fine. Radiator's topped off. I burped it already from that little hole there a couple times after it warmed up, and only spilled that much. Huh. Well, big old mess, but I'll have to clean that up, and we'll get back to work on the truck now maybe.
Me Me and the boys were sitting around drinking, we was talking about things that we was thinking, when all of a sudden what comes out of Bill's mouth? Said I'm getting old and fat and slow, and I don't recover like I did before from nights of rabble, rousing and too much fun. Well, I looked around and we all agreed, and I had a drink and I ordered 3, and I staggered back to do it all again. And we made an oath on a rum and coke with the best intention, I'm sure you know, that we would stop this living in excess.